You're listening to Celebrating Simple Life, the podcast. I'm Kimberly Evans, and I've been planning incredible events for the past 16 years. I'm passionate about connecting people, creating purposeful gatherings, and making the most out of every moment. Join me as we learn together how to find joy, celebrate the simple things in life, use events to grow your business, and have a whole lot of fun along the way. Every day can be a reason to celebrate. Cheers to Celebrating Simple Life. Today on Celebrating Simple Life, the podcast, I'm chatting with Michelle, owner of Michelle's Flowers. She opened her doors in November of 2007 and has now grown into an online-only boutique proudly serving Saskatoon and area. Her business is filled with love and joy, one that allows her to combine work and play. Her goal is to provide the best quality flowers and customer experience to every single customer. Her and her team put care, love, and attention into every single order as if they were sending the florals to their own mom or best friend. Their mix of fun, trendy, and different types of blooms makes each bouquet and arrangement unique. Michelle is an absolute ray of sunshine and spends her days doing what she loves, hanging out with the creative women on her team that she feels blessed to call friends. Michelle is the floral designer for our upcoming Shine Summit in 2021, and it has been such a pleasure getting to know her better in life and business. She even manages to bring me to tears with her Sunshine program announcement in this episode. Tune in to hear our inspiring conversation on staying true to yourself, turning your passion into business, and having a whole lot of fun along the way. Before we get started today, I want to ask a favor. I would be so grateful if you would take time to leave an Apple Podcast review. It'll only take a minute. You can even press pause right now, scroll down on the podcast home screen, and take that minute to just leave a review. It makes a world of difference as I grow Celebrating Simple Life, the podcast. And in return, I want to do you a favor. When you leave a review, you will automatically be entered to win one of my famous sweet treat grazing boxes. It's that simple. Leave a review and you are automatically entered to win. Now, on with the show.
Hello, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. I am so excited to chat with you today.
Aw, thank you. I'm so excited as well.
Yay, and it is a beautiful summer day, and how I wish we were chatting in person.
I know. I do too.
Someday, the next time you're on the show, we'll make sure that it's in person.
Yeah.
So you are one busy lady right now, lots on the go, and like every other human being on earth, have had to make some big changes in your life and business in the last few months. Hey, and I cannot wait to hear all about it.
Aw, yeah. So it has been such a crazy time.
It has, and I want to hear, so let's first of all, for my listeners who have not had the pleasure of following along on your Instagram or meeting you in person and knowing who you are, I would love for you to just introduce yourself and tell them a little bit about Michelle's Flowers and your business and kind of how you got started in this industry.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'm Michelle Lapointe, and I'm the owner of Michelle's Flowers. And I've been doing flowers in Saskatoon for 13 years now. And I started out having a storefront for about 10 years. And then I have switched over, kind of veering away from the traditional brick and mortar storefront to work out of home. So I have a studio in my garage that I work out of. And I've been doing that for about 3 years now. And what else can I tell you? So we do every day-to-day flowers. We deliver Monday through Friday, and then we don't really do weekends unless we have weddings. Then we're working for the weekend. And then a big part of the business is wedding flowers. So we do a lot of weddings here in Saskatoon.
That's amazing. So obviously then that leads into how different things are looking for you for this summer. As myself, being in the event industry, while I no longer do weddings, which is actually where I started in my career as well as a wedding planner for many years, but transitioned into different types of events and don't do that anymore. So my summers are not filled with weddings, but I remember how that is. And you were booked solid, and then suddenly world pandemic hits, and boom, no weddings.
Yes. So it is really different. Basically, since I opened my shop, we've been doing weddings nonstop. I would say from May till October is our wedding season. Mm-hmm. So it's basically every single weekend we are doing weddings, and it's rare to have a weekend off unless we book it off. So
right.
Our wedding season this year started in April, and that April didn't happen.
Right, and that was April, yeah.
Yeah, and then May didn't happen. So it's been a nice break, but also it's been really sad because we all really miss doing weddings. So it's been a tough adjustment, but also a little bit of a welcome break, I guess, at the same time.
Well, I think as an entrepreneur sometimes too, like I know for me at least, it really takes a lot, like something pretty big has to happen in order for me to sometimes recognize that I need a bit of a break. Mm-hmm. And not that you want to look at a world pandemic as like, oh good, I get a break, but I feel like it is those kind of big things sometimes where maybe there were little things that were coming along your way where you're like, yeah, I maybe should, but it wasn't something big enough that really were like paying attention. But I know like this for sure has been one of those things. And like 7 years ago when my daughter was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis, that was one of those things for me where you don't anticipate those types of big things that are really, really hard to even believe that they're happening when they're happening, but you're supposed to learn something out of it, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like this is another one of those things where we wouldn't have chose any of these things, but this is the reality of what's happening, so now what, right?
Exactly. I completely agree. I feel like this has been such a nice time to really reevaluate what is important in my life, and obviously work and my business and my customers and my brides are really important, but at the same time I've really realized that I need to take time for myself in the summertime. And it's been so nice to have the weekends to spend with my fiance, and
especially where we live, right?
Yeah,
like our summers
totally.
are a blink of an eye and then they're gone. And I remember that too. Like when you're in the wedding industry, you really don't get. It's like all the seasons aren't really great then because you're like, weddings are booked full in the summers, and that's the only time that we really have really great weather here. And
well, and to get away, because we really love camping, and to get away, it's hard because you need to be here. And I get every year, so what weekends do you have off? And I say, well, okay, let's plan for this weekend. And then by the time that comes, I mean, we're booked with like 4 to 5 weddings, so it just doesn't happen. But
and it's hard as a small business too. I find that there's always this juggling act, right? Where you're like, you want to find this balance in still feeling like the whole point of owning a business and doing what you love and getting to be, I guess, the world of an entrepreneur is partially because you get to create your own schedule and you get to do all these things. However, sometimes that almost comes back to bite us, right? Where it's like, you know what? I would actually be working a lot less and probably making a whole lot more money if I just chose a regular 9-to-5 job, right?
Isn't it so funny? That's how it ends up happening. I mean, everybody always will comment on the amount of vacations that I take in my off season, which is wintertime. Yeah. But I don't think people realize how much we actually work in our on season. So it's just constant, and it kind of just rolls from month to month to month, and you don't take time to actually enjoy even the summer really at all, because it's like you're busy, you take a breath, and then you just start it all over the next week. So this pandemic has really taught me that it's time to slow down and enjoy things a little bit more.
Wow. So how then, with the things, I mean, obviously I would imagine that most, if not all, of the weddings and the things that you had going on that you were booked for have been postponed more so than canceled, I guess, into the future as weddings pick a new date in 2021 or whatever the case may be. How have you, for the time being, pivoted and made new changes in your business, I guess, in order to, I guess, make room for the things that aren't going to be happening this summer, but also, like you said, trying to find a new way of doing business so that you can maybe find a little bit more freedom and joy in your life versus feeling like you're working all the time?
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of our weddings have been postponed. So, 2021 will be a really busy year, which I also need to be very mindful of because, you know, we're really booked up already because basically 2020 moves into 2021. So
right.
With my new mindfulness of my time, I do have to keep that in mind as we move forward because
naturally you're like, oh, well, maybe I should book double the weddings in 2021, right?
Which normally I would just do it, but I also have to remember that I'm not the young 24-year-old anymore.
Oh, goodness. Well, and you'd like to think, this is how I am too, after being in the event industry for like 16 years, I'm like, maybe I need to learn a lesson. Maybe I could learn a lesson after this many years and not repeat things year after year that I keep telling myself I'm not going to keep doing.
Right. Well, you get these such nice brides coming in and they're so sweet and so excited, and it's really hard to say no when someone is, you know, they're just a lovely person and you think you'd have a great working relationship with them. If they have a lovely style that you want to do and work with, it's hard to say no. So it's tricky sometimes.
Well, 100%, and it's that balance of like, okay, well, we're small businesses. We want to grow. We want to make this a business. We want to do all the things. But, yeah, it is hard to kind of, because it is so personal. Like, it's so personal when you're meeting with a client. It's not just, oh, well, who cares of what's going on? Because you're getting to know these people, and you're like a part of something that's going to be a part of their world for the rest of their life.
And a lot of the times, too, I become friends with a lot of my clients, and you form like a nice relationship with them, and it's you're getting paid to do work, but you also are creating a really nice bond with them. So it's hard to say no, especially when you can see great things in them as well too. So
absolutely. Well, and I think that just sort of goes to show the passion that you have in what you do, right? Like, it isn't just a transaction. It isn't just oh, let's just try to get them what they want and on their way. Like, you're wanting to know the whole story, and you're wanting this to be like a piece of their special day that adds up to making it so amazing.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Oh, I love that. So what are some things that you've been doing right now in your business to kind of move forward and change up how you would normally be doing right now of preparing yourself for, I mean, day-to-day florals, obviously, but also preparing yourself for all these weddings? Have you just been giving yourself more time and are focusing more on the day-to-day type floral orders, or how have you started?
So, I mean, in the floral industry, I feel like we've been a little bit more lucky than a lot of small businesses because flowers is something that you can send to somebody if you aren't able to see them. So business has been busy, and then we also fell into Mother's Day, so it was extremely busy. So I actually had to take some time off after Mother's Day because we were completely exhausted. So today is our first day back after Mother's Day, and we're just kind of getting back into the groove of things. But now without weddings, we do have to kind of refocus things on the everyday to day flowers, which isn't something that we normally do at Michelle's Flowers. So we do obviously the everyday to day flowers, but it's not something that we go after, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting you say that, though, because I was having a conversation with somebody else about this during this time, and it's interesting to sort of see the businesses that already were set up for like online orders and like different types of things where people were already used to ordering those types of services and items online definitely made a huge difference during this time versus the types of businesses that maybe just weren't necessarily, not even that they weren't set up to order online, but it just wasn't necessarily the type of business that you would have initially just off the top of your head thought to order something online. And you're right, flowers is definitely, it's sort of like flowers and takeout pizza are the things that you like 100% for sure know, like, right? Like, I remember we ordered Skip the Dishes one night, like right when COVID started, or maybe a couple weeks into it, and he's like, we have never been busier, this pizza place, because they were already succeeding in the online department. This was already a thing. This wasn't a new addition to their business, but it's so top of mind for people to send flowers or to order pizza, those types of things, that it almost has made that transition a little bit easier than for some businesses where I'm like, oh, I would have never thought to order or do that type of product or service online because I'm used to just going somewhere to do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So when everybody was going stuck at home and not going to work and everybody's being mindful of social distancing and businesses were closed, for us, we really didn't change our business model because we didn't have customers coming into the studio anyway, so there was no real change for us in that aspect. But things did pick up on the order front because people were needing to send things to loved ones. Right. And then in my mind, I thought, okay, weddings are being canceled. What if we're not busy? How am I going to be creating income? So I started a few different things. So we started doing DIY kits, and they were super popular. So we would do one of those every week, and then on the Friday night, I would design with whoever had purchased a DIY kit.
I love that.
Yeah, so there's all these different things that I've been thinking of on how to increase sales, but right now it's just we don't actually have the time to do some of them because it was so busy with Mother's Day. So it'll be interesting this summer now once, I have my staff here that I have to, cover we have to pay for them to be there. And then if it's not busy, it'll get a little tricky. But it'll be fun to find different ways to be creative in selling. So it's kind of like a little bit of a challenge at the same time.
Well, and I think that's often, isn't that, for me at least, that was part of why I got into doing what I do for a living. Like, it's fun to kind of dream up new things and to be in the type of industry and to own your own business where you get to have the freedom to do what you want to do, but it is hard actually running a business and operating a business are two kind of different things, right? And so I feel like there's often not enough time, I find, at least in the day, to actually be able to follow through on all of the dreams that I have. But that's kind of been one of the blessings throughout this last little bit has been I have had more time. So it's been fun to be able to actually dream up, plan, follow through on something and be like, okay, good, this probably wouldn't have happened had I not had this time, right? Which maybe this is the next step you're getting into.
I couldn't agree more. I think this is the perfect time for businesses who are creative and have all these different ideas. It's time to implement those things rather than kind of just sitting and enjoying the time to yourself, if that makes any sense. So it's the perfect opportunity. And like there's, for example, one thing I've wanted to start since I was back over on Fairlight Drive years and years ago, and it was called the Sunshine Program. So it's this thing I wanted to start, and every week we would acknowledge one person that our community would nominate. So I would deliver to them a dozen roses. Every Monday we would do it, and it could be for any reason whatsoever. So people will nominate these people, and then I pick one person to deliver the flowers to, and then they just get like a little letter saying that, this is why you were nominated, and it's just acknowledging them for something good. And so that's going to be starting here in June. I'm finally going to do it.
I love it.
Yeah, and guess who my first person is?
Who's your first person?
You.
No, you are not. Are you going to make me cry right on this episode?
I am going to tell you. I'm going to tell you, I think you do amazing things, and you should be acknowledged for all the stuff that you do. So you're going to be our first Sunshine Programmer.
Oh, my word. I am literally tears streaming down my face as we are talking on this call right now. You know me, I am rarely speechless. Here I am, speechless. Oh, my word. I think that is so beautiful because I feel like that has just been one of the most incredible gifts that have come out of these past couple of months is that while things have been hard, and again, I feel like I preface this on every single episode during COVID, nobody is negating all of the hard experiences that have been circumstances to every single person has had a different story and a different way that this pandemic has affected them personally. Some have not really felt affected at all. Some have felt extremely affected and have gotten to a place of losing loved ones and like across the world. And there's just, everybody has a different story in this, but I feel like one thing that I just keep seeing over and over and over, no matter what somebody's story is that there have just been so many good things that have come out of taking a minute to, like you said, follow through on an idea that you have in order to just be one piece of making the world, your community, your circle, a better place.
I agree completely. So I find that I found through this whole COVID experience and the hardships that everybody has been going through, there's been so much love given. And I've seen it through my own customers. Like, I'll have customers that will say, hey, can you make me up 10 mini bouquets? I want to go deliver them to my loved ones, because they aren't able to actually see them. So from the very beginning, I was able to see such nice, kind acts, and it really warmed my heart to see all this love amongst people in Saskatoon. I thought it was just it's so great.
A few summers ago, we were putting in a new fence in our backyard and made sure to contact Sask Energy first. They want you to know what's below. Hitting an underground utility line can be costly and very dangerous. Always plan ahead. Get a line locate for any digging projects you have going on this summer, like if you happen to be building a deck or putting in a new fence. It's absolutely free to have Sask Energy come out, and it will definitely allow you to stay safe and save yourself the expense of contacting an underground utility line. Visit clickbeforeyoudig.com to request your free line locate today.
Well, it is, and it is, again, like, I know this has been said so many times, but it's just one of these unique experiences that we probably aren't ever going to see again in our lifetime, and haven't seen it up until this point in our lifetime. And so it feels like there is some kind of history in the making here, and it's been interesting to see how grown-ups have responded. It's been interesting to see how my kids have responded. It's been interesting just to see how I feel like it has just really reiterated in me, at least, how it does not matter what type of circumstance comes your way. How we choose to react in a situation is what determines what can come out of something super positive or super negative. It's just the dark circumstances. Yes, nobody's saying don't be upset about it. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be upset. All of those things are very, very good things to be feeling. Nobody needs to be happy all of the time. But to be able to actually take a step back and just feel like it's meant for something more, I think this would just be such a loss in these past few months and moving forward, as we still aren't totally sure how everything is going to unfold in these next few months, that it just would be such a loss to feel like you're coming out of this in a sense of, well, that was dumb. I learned nothing. Like, it just seems like it would be such a missed opportunity.
I agree. I think everybody has so many different feelings in every situation that they're dealing with right now with this COVID, and you have the power to choose whether or not you rise above or you let it just kind of eat away. And I think that for the most part, people in my circle and my community that I interact with, everybody's doing a really good job in staying positive and being mindful of other people and helping others out when there's help needed. So I can't be more proud of the people that I have surrounding me and the people that I work with and deal with. Like, I think it's just been so great. Everybody's been so positive, and I'm just so proud of everybody.
Well, and it's kind of a bit of a ripple effect, right? Like, I know for myself that if I feel like it kind of, I guess that's sort of the beautiful part about community and creating community and choosing who gets to be a part of your world in life and business and everything in between is that piece of, if I'm having a bad day, I know that there's going to be somebody who is going to be able to do something, say something, it doesn't matter what it is, that's going to help me feel like I'm not alone in something. And when I see somebody else in my circle having a bad day and I'm having a fine day, I get to be that person who gets to, you know, and to feel like you're not just in a circle of everyone being down in the dumps at the same time, all not knowing how to get out and feeling like there's no hope.
And then knowing that you do have people in your life that you can lean on and trust that they can help you if you do need help. So I think it's a beautiful thing.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So obviously then I feel like this sort of comes back to a bit of a mindset game, right? Like it's a bit of a, and again, I feel like sometimes mindset and positive thinking and those types of things get misinterpreted with you have to be happy all the time. And I try really hard to kind of speak to this as often as I can on, I mean, even using this podcast as a platform and on social media in different places where by no means am I happy every day. There is definitely things that bring me joy every day, for sure. Doesn't mean that I'm in a happy state of mind where nothing's going wrong and everything is just sunshine and rainbows, right?
Yes.
We all know that, but I think that there's sometimes a bit of a misconception in that for me, happiness is a feeling, but joy is more of a lifestyle. It's more of a, you don't have to be happy all the time because that's unrealistic, and we all know how we feel when we're around people who never show us any other emotions. And you're like, is this for real? Is this happening?
No, and I totally agree. I think mindset is a key factor in people right now and being able to really get through this, because if you're not strong in your thought, how can you bring that towards your day?
Yeah, and it kind of comes back to, again, too, I was just having a conversation with somebody else about this week, too. It kind of just comes back to, again, taking care of yourself first, which I still think, especially as women, this comes back to something that feels like it sometimes has been ingrained to us to not do. Like it's wrong to think of yourself first because that's selfish versus now I find more and more this keeps being brought to my attention, especially as I'm raising two girls and trying to turn them into the women that I know they are striving to become. It's one of those things where I can see it firsthand how when I have not taken care of myself, and sometimes you aren't aware of that right away, and it blows up in a way that's not kind or nice or whatever the case may be, to be able to recognize that and be like, whoa, there is no way that I am able to put good things into their little lives or my significant other's life or my friends and people around me and my business and all of that if I'm not feeling like I'm at my best self. And it sometimes feels counterintuitive a little bit, I think, to be like, oh, well, when I am feeling this, I should go and invest more in myself. Well, yeah, that's kind of where it has to start, because you can't really invest in someone else when you're feeling totally drained.
Yeah, totally. And when you're spending all your energy taking care of everybody else and every other thing in your life except for yourself, it's not going to lead to anything good.
No. We've all been there.
Yeah, it's not going to lead to anything good. So I think that it's a great quality when people can recognize that they are able to take a step back and take care of themselves. And I mean, taking care of yourself doesn't mean you have to, for example, take a day and go to the spa or something like that. It just means you need to be able to recognize what you need, even if it's an hour walk or a talk with a girlfriend or something like that.
Well, it's almost like having the ability. This is what I feel like I am starting to recognize more and more in myself, and not that it necessarily makes it easier to act on that, but to at least just be a little bit more aware is to be able to be a little bit quicker to just be aware of what it is that you need. And like, you're right, like it doesn't need to be something big, but I think sometimes we like just negate all of the things that we think that we need, and then let's say a couple of weeks goes by and you're just at your breaking point because your body has literally probably been screaming at you for weeks to just like, you know what, just don't turn your computer on today, or whatever the case may be. Like just little tiny things where there's just, and it's like you can't even really be aware to know what those little things are because you just get so overwhelmed and everything feels overwhelming around you, when really, had on a daily basis you just taking a break from being on the computer, or gone for that walk, like you said, or like send flowers to a friend, whatever the case may be, like just doing these little things that are able to kind of almost like glitch your brain into a reset.
Well, and one thing that I started doing when I was working from home is I would actually take a break. So in my work days, I would never take breaks. I was always working. Once I got to the shop, it was you go to work and you work till you go home kind of thing. And so I made a point to take a half an hour break for lunch, and whether it was sitting with the staff or if I would go into the house and have like just a quiet lunch to myself, that really changed my day in giving me that time to just sort of take a break.
I remember my high school graduation so well, even though I'm celebrating my 20-year high school reunion this year. So many celebrations have had to be canceled because of the current state of the world, but that doesn't mean that a graduation milestone should be any less memorable. If you are on the lookout for a creative way to celebrate the graduate in your life, I've curated an adorable, delicious, and unique graduation sweet treat grazing box. A beautiful, delectable candy grazing box can be shipped right to your door or as a surprise to the graduate's doorstep, making them feel extra celebrated. Doorstep delivery is available in Saskatoon, and shipping is available across Canada. And because we could all use a little more joy right now, as a listener of Celebrating Simple Life, the podcast, you get an exclusive code to receive 15% off with the code CELEBRATE15. You can click right from home at celebratingsimplelife.com and use the code CELEBRATE15, because today is a great day to celebrate.
Because sometimes you almost forget how. Like there's even times where that's so my mentality also, and I've been working from home for like 5 or 6 years now, and so it's been a challenge. As much as I love it, there's definitely been pieces about it where I'm like, wow, I'm still learning this. Like I'm still not totally doing this in a way that I feel like is probably the best for me personally, you know? Like taking these breaks and doing that. And on days when I do feel like I'm like, oh yes, nailing it, this is perfect, I feel so much better, you know? But it's like so different. It does make a huge difference. Yeah, even just a lunch break. Like I remember throughout my career, like years would go by where I'm like, I literally don't think I've actually had lunch not either sitting at my desk while still typing or driving, the famous driving while you're stuffing food in your face, classic, right? There would be years that went by where I was like, I literally don't know if I remember what it feels like to just actually eat lunch and be like, go imagine that I just look around while I eat my lunch.
I totally agree. Right? I totally agree. Yeah, it's so funny. And normally I would say, "Oh, that's the joy of being an entrepreneur," but no, it's not.
That's right. And I'm like, that is not. Well, especially when you're looking around. And again, like, I don't want my kids to think that's okay. I don't want them to think that that's normal to just be driving around and like eating your lunch in your car every day, right? So when I put it into that perspective, it's like you can laugh about it, right? And be like, this is crazy. This is like not regular behavior to be doing this all of the time. But it's so hard to see that in yourself sometimes, right?
Yeah, I agree. Totally. It's because there's so many things you have to do in one day, and it's like, well, if I need to eat, I guess I do it now, and you just do it again the next day.
Totally. Well, and it's funny. One of the practices I like that you talked about that practice of just actually like bringing a structure in, because I think I think sometimes that little small steps like that are like, oh, what's the point? That's not going to change anything. But I think little steps like that are the little steps that grow to create change and a schedule that's more manageable and a mindset that's more manageable, because I'm always sort of I'm all in. Okay, well, tomorrow I decided that I'm going to eat this for breakfast, and I'm going to take a lunch break, and I'm going to go for a walk, and I'm going to like do all of these things. And then tomorrow comes and you're like, oh, my day is way too busy. Okay, fine. I'm just going to like grab whatever I see here to eat. I'm not going to make a healthy breakfast. I'm not going to go for my walk. And I always have this sort of all or nothing kind of mentality I've noticed about myself. And then I feel like I've failed when I haven't hit all of those things in a day, rather than saying to myself, way to go. you ate breakfast today instead of just 6 cups of coffee before lunch, you know? Good job.
Yeah. I can totally relate to that. And I've learned something this past year, which, I mean, it's so obvious, and I don't know how it has taken me so many years to learn, but I've always kind of just gone with the flow of things and have been easygoing and laid back, and I just kind of roll with it. And I've been proud that I've been able to do that. But this last year, structure actually creates freedom. And it's been a huge change in my days since I've actually put in a structure versus just going to work and getting work done and then doing things when you have the time to do it. And once I've created a structure and a daily routine, that's when the freedom of entrepreneurial life has really happened. So it's funny it's taken this long to do it, but I'm happy that I'm finally there.
I love that. Structure creates freedom. I love that because I think that there's a lot of taboo in the word structure, and people, I mean, me as an event planner, legit the word planner in my job title. Yes, I like planning and structure and all of that, obviously. But you're right. Like, I think there is a lot of taboo where people think you have to be like either really organized or detail oriented or have to have everything just right for it to be a structure. And then there's no way to bend around that versus seeing it as an actual formula to create a day to look the way you actually want it to look.
Exactly. And
I love that.
That's what being an entrepreneur is all about. So it's like you can either let your days run your life or you can run it. So it's awesome once you can figure it out.
I love that. Well, it's funny because I actually recently, I've kind of off and on done this over the years, and I don't always stick to it, and then life kind of gets busy, and it's been a little bit of a roller coaster, but I've been back on the time blocking wagon again. And that for me is, while I am a structured, detail-oriented person, I do find that just with having a business and having different projects that are always on the go and you're kind of trying to figure out where to spend your time, it's very easy to start and finish each day feeling like you've done a lot but done nothing. You know, like I've done a lot and I have felt like I'm working all day, but I'm getting to the end of the day and being like, what did I do? What did I accomplish? Oh, wait, there's still 500 things on my list that I didn't do, so I've failed, you know?
Yeah. I feel that way sometimes as well.
Yeah, and you're not really ever giving yourself a chance to celebrate. Like, you know what? I actually did cross 25 legit tasks off my list today of things that I needed to do and get done. I've moved my business forward. I've created this for this client. I got this to this person. I was able to drop off soup for this friend of mine. You know what I mean? Like, even just little things in your personal life and business life where you're like, that is something. Like, I don't need to feel like a failure because I often set myself up for failure from the beginning of the day because legit what's on the list, there's no human like possible way that it can get done. But then I tell myself I should have, you know?
Yeah. I set 3 things a day that I want myself or the staff to get done. And there's obviously more things on the list, but I say as long as we get the top 3 things done today, that's just A-okay, because there'll be days where it just blows up with orders and we have no time to do anything. But then there'll be days where it's a little bit quieter and then we can get back to that list and get all the things that need to be done. So once we kind of like eased into not having to get every single thing done, it became a happier workplace.
Oh, I love that. I feel like this could be a whole nother episode just talking about this. I think that is often really the main cause of overwhelm in life and business, is just really not really knowing where to begin in order to take the little steps. And the little steps feel like you're doing nothing at first.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like it's causing any change, right?
But all those little steps, they lead to something big. So it's funny when people do feel that way, like that they are not accomplishing anything. Well, it's leading to something. But I do that too. There'll be like 60 things that you have to do in one day. And if you only get 5 of them done, well, you must not have been busy today. Complete opposite.
Right. You better keep working all evening long so that you don't have to add those to your list tomorrow. And wait a second, 17 years later, my list has never changed. Right?
Exactly. I love it. 17 years later, there's still those 60 things
Totally.
on the list.
Totally. It doesn't stop. job. So yeah, and I think also job hazard of being a creative, job hazard of owning your own business is the dream wagon never turns off its engine. Like it's always going. So I feel like even if I do cross 60 things off the list in a day, my brain's already dreamt up 60 more for tomorrow that I'll spend even tiny snippets of time thinking about, which still adds up to, we all only have 24 hours in a day. So like, let's be realistic here. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you don't push it to the weekend, because then that just makes it even worse. So
that's right. It just never ends. I know. That's so funny. But I feel like even just talking this through though, and knowing that this, obviously, you and I are 100% relating on this. We can't be the only two in the world who feel this way.
No, there's so many of us.
There's so many of us that I feel like people listening to this can kind of just take a deep breath and recognize that you're not alone in this. And even being able to just pick up the phone and call somebody when you're feeling that sense of overwhelm or something bubbling up, and knowing, just even hearing somebody else be like, just take a breath. Take a breath. You don't need to do this right now. Like, I often tell myself, like, is this a life and death situation going on here? Because I feel like, especially like I referenced when Cassidy was diagnosed with CF, that was a life and death situation and continues to be. And for me, that has been helpful for myself to be able to actually have had, like, not that I wish something catastrophic like this had happened to her, but we've all been able to, in our family now, take that as a marker of, you know what? Yeah, okay, something spilled all over the floor, no big deal. Okay, I got an email message from somebody that wasn't my favorite. Okay, like, sure, we'll deal with this, but I don't need to let this be the thing that's, like, wrecking my day, my week, my month, because of something that it just is what it is.
Well, and I feel that until somebody goes through something traumatic or a real life experience like that, sometimes they don't know that they can turn that off, and that they can realize that there are more important things in life than you say, like a bad email from a client or something along those lines. And then you actually can appreciate what's truly important in life.
Well, it is. And I would say that I think that from what I was observing when sort of the world shut down in March, and what I saw as sort of instantaneous reactions from people who weren't sure what to do next, and me included, like, it was challenging, obviously, the industries that we're in, to try to navigate, you to sort of let it all blow up in your mind of like, oh my goodness, what is this next year going to look like? However, it was interesting to see how some people reacted to it, because you could tell that there were definitely people who hadn't ever experienced something more challenging. This was definitely, I don't say that as a judgment. I say that as this was their thing. That was the hardest thing they have ever gone through in their life. And so for me, I feel like no matter what that is for somebody, whether that's something that happened from when you were a kid, whether maybe you don't ever feel like you've had something happen to you yet in your life that has been so catastrophic that you felt like the earth has stopped. That's wonderful. Happy that isn't the case, because I don't wish that for anybody. However, when those are moments that you've come through in your life, and there's so many different ways those moments come up, everybody has something they could probably share, that it's important to kind of just being able to look at that, right? And it's there, it's happening. Now, how are we going to respond? And it can't stay in chaos forever.
And how are we going to move forward in this? So
that's right. Oh,
I
totally agree. Well, this has been such a lovely conversation, and I am so excited to see all of the creative expressions that you are going to get to figure out in your business in these next few months as you figure out what summer looks like for you.
It's going to be so much
more
fun.
Weekends away.
It's going to be so much fun. And I'm going to just enjoy every single weekend that we have just to relax and enjoy the weather and I mean, we still have our weddings. Like, we have just little weddings happening, but it's not like a full-blown day where I need to be working. So I'm really going to enjoy it.
Oh, that's amazing. What a breath of fresh air, hey?
Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. Well, thank you
you
so much for being on the show today. I am going to link all of your Instagram and places to find what you're up to. And the other piece that I wanted to just connect before we finish off in it is that I'm so excited that you are one of our incredible branded partners for our Shine Summit. Woo! That, again, like every other event that is happening in this world has had to be canceled or postponed. We are so delighted that we've been able to postpone our event until April. And even though that feels like it's far away, we're less than a year now, so we can do a countdown for sure. And your images that we got taken of the florals that you put together for even just our branded shoot that we had done for our Shine Summit were so beautiful, and we've gotten so much positive feedback on just, I don't know, I just feel like this is going to be another one of those events where it's been so fun to have creatives and leaders in their industry and just women who are ready to show up in lots of different ways come on board. And you are one of those incredible women. And I'm so excited that we get to work together and have flowers and talk creative things and get that all organized, which hasn't happened yet because now we're pushing our date even further. But nonetheless,
here's the bonus of having to move it to April is now we can have peonies.
Yay! And that is legit like one of my most favorite flowers. You know, it's funny, the branding and everything that we've been doing for our event, flowers included in all of this, really actually does allude more so to springtime than the fall that we had initially planned, right?
Perfect.
So maybe it's all just happening in the way that it's supposed to happen. And yes, I am so excited to see what we can come up with because flowers just, I don't know, there's obviously you're aware of this because you are around florals every day, but they there's just a new life and a new energy and a feel of new beginnings, I think, that when you're surrounded by fresh blooms and they make you happy, and that's all of the feelings that we're trying to create around the Shine Summit, and to be able to work with someone like you that has been in the industry for a while and owns her own business, and that we get to support business while helping grow business. I'm like, yes, that
I think it's awesome.
A nailed it type of event.
I agree totally. I think it's awesome and beautiful, and I'm so looking forward to it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. You are just so lovely, and I can't wait to be able to see you in person again very soon.
Yay, me too. Me too. Thanks so much for having me.
This show would not be possible without you, my incredible listeners. It would mean the world to me if you would subscribe to Celebrating Simple Life on Apple Podcasts or download and listen on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you choose to listen. If you really want to make my day, leave a review. These reviews, ratings, and sharing screenshots of podcast episodes that were engaging for you on your Instagram stories and tagging friends that you think should hear the episode too really helps the podcast grow. It makes me so happy that I often select reviews to read on the show, and if yours is chosen, you will receive a special gift from me. Thank you for being a part of my mission to connect stories of business and life. Cheers to Celebrating Simple Life.